everybody. Welcome back to the Damn Yankees Podcast, produced by Seven Ashes Productions. My name is Megan. That's my brother Ryan. And over there is our baseball dummy, Cliff, also
Hi.
producer. Hi. It's Thursday, June 1st. And we are going to talk about the last two series wins. Yay. So the Yankees played the Padres and the Mariners since last pod, and they went 4-2. Yeah, I almost said 6-2. Not right. 4-2 in the last 8 or 6 games. So yay, won both series. So that's good. That's what you want.
2 series wins, and I got snacks. It's a
and
good
you got
pod.
Snacks, so everybody's happy. Yay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially, San Diego's been struggling this year. I mean, we had talked last time that we hoped that they didn't find some momentum playing the Washington Nationals, kind of like we used the Oakland Athletics as a way to get us out of our struggles. We were hoping that they did not get a chance to use the Nationals as that. I was a little worried because the first game we lost 5-1.
I know, yeah.
I think Soto started looking good.
Yes. Yankee fans were chanting.
I think, hit a huge home run.
Yeah. And so Yankee fans were taunting Tatis with his steroid stuff, whatever. And he was playing into it. I know.
Being an honest Yankee fan, it's kind of ironic.
Yeah, shut up. And, he played into being the villain and hit a home run and danced along with the Yankee fans out in right field. So I can't be mad at that. I know a lot of Yankee fans were mad about him,
throughout the series. I mean, we'll get more into Rizzo later, but that I would say, I think we talked about it. It was a dumb. For those who don't know, Rizzo got injured as Tatis. It was a pickoff move. Tatis came back to the bag, but everybody was mad at Tatis for it because he didn't slide in. His hip kind of went at him. But I think people are just mad at Tatis because.
I think people just like to be mad at Tatis. He's got that.
He's got the villain
persona now. So and he plays into it, so it's not whatever. I enjoyed it. It wasn't anything to be mad about. It was something that was kind of fun.
Enjoyed the dancing, not him injuring Rizzo.
I'm sorry. Yes, enjoyed the dancing. Enjoyed the back and forth of him playing into being a villain or whatever. I did not enjoy the 2 home runs he had in that series. So, but we ended up winning that series. We scored 10 runs in the last game, which is the one where Rizzo got hurt. They went on to Seattle and also scored 10 runs in the first 2 games in Seattle. Then dropped the last series 0-1. Yeah, in the lost in the 10th inning. That was pretty brutal to stay up for, to be honest. I was in and out of watching it, so I can't say I watched the entire thing wide-eyed, but I was still up with that last out, so that was a little brutal.
Yeah, it's always the Yankees offense just seems to be the same thing last year. Like there would be multiple games in a row where we are hitting just about everything, and then there's that one game. I think it was Seattle again last year.
I think you're right in the same kind of way. I think we lost 1-0
extra innings and 1-0. I think Castillo started the game on the mound. Kind of this very similar to a game last year where we're hitting a ton and then all of a sudden we play where we can't hit at all. But 2 series win. I would say the Seattle series is more impressive of a win just because Seattle is they're one of the hotter teams. Prior to this, they've been one of the hotter teams in the league.
And
they had won 8 of their last 10 games prior to coming into the Yankees.
Playing the Yankees.
They're still 7-3, I believe, in their last 10 games. After losing a series, so
their pitching prospect, the one that's supposed to be, I forgot his name now, Miller or what's his name? The guy we pitched against on Monday. He's supposed to be really good and has been really good, but the Yankees rocked him. The Judge hit 2 home runs in that game, robbed a home run from Teoscar. Hernandez, is that his last name? Which they had a little back and forth on Twitter. That was kind of fun. But
you can see how good of a season he's had because he gave up 8 earned runs. Brad Miller gave up 8 earned runs against us, and his ERA is still 3.00. So
that's true. So
Yeah.
he's had a pretty great year before he ran into the Yankees, and I think he was like fastball heavy pitcher, and Yankees kind of pounced on
Yankees
that.
do
So
good on that.
So overall good series. Like I said, the first game of the Padres series, last game of the Seattle series were a bit of a dud, but otherwise really fun to watch the offense. Some sad news from those two games is the Rizzo injury and the Bader injury. So Rizzo got hurt. He has a stiff neck from the Padres game, the last game of that series, where, like Ryan, like you were saying, the Tatis kind
the
of came
pickoff
back into
move.
the
So Tatis doesn't slide. He runs in, like he stays up coming in, which
stays on
we
his 2
talked about at
feet.
the time. Some people really upset. Some people were saying that it was a dirty play. I don't think it was a dirty play. It was a dumb play by Tatis.
Dumb baseball play. Like, why aren't you diving back
You should
on
be
your head
diving
first?
in.
With your hands
He
ahead.
took a pretty big lead, and I don't. Who was on the mound at the time? Who was it? Schmidt still, or was it?
Might have been Schmidt. I can check, but I can't.
So whoever was on the mound at the time, he had a pretty good pick. Or it wasn't Schmidt, because Schmidt just played yesterday. I don't remember who was in the game at the time, but whoever was up, I remember he has a pretty good pickoff move. So you should be diving in. I think Rizzo expected him to be diving in, so his head was a bit lower and basically just caught.
Rizzo gets him out really easy, but then as on the way by, Tatis's hip slams into Rizzo's head. Rizzo kind of wobbles around there for a bit, and is taken out shortly after, and so ends up with a stiff neck. They said he did not have to go through any concussion protocols, which is good news. But he's been out. Boone.
Yeah, he did not play during the Seattle series.
Yeah, didn't play during the Seattle series.
Even though the Yankees said that he would, and then.
Yeah, and you take that one way or another. I certainly didn't expect him to play, and they did say after the Padres game, oh, he'll be he's available in the lineup, or he'll be there, and he wasn't. But they said for the Wednesday game that he was available off the bench, and
they almost made it sound like he'd be first available, but apparently he was only emergency available.
Yes, they definitely made it seem like, at least the way I took it was, sure, okay, he'll probably be pinch hitting at some point in the game, and there were certainly opportunities to pinch hit for Bowers, or
and I think they pinch hit with Franchi.
Yeah, and so it was like man, clearly he's not. It's like, okay, did you just want to see Franchi strike out in a key spot one more time before sending him away? But so Rizzo wasn't coming in. Then after the game, Boone says, he was only available in emergency situations, which in May 31st, an emergency is going to be another injury. Like, that's what that's going to be. And I get before the game not saying like, Rizzo's only available in injury or in, emergency situations, because you want the other team to know, or,
not know exactly what your game plan is.
Right. Especially Rizzo's a lefty. That could change, what pitcher's coming in, and, based on, they're going to bring their left-handed pitcher, right-handed reliever. So I can certainly understand not showing your cards to the other team. The way they word it sometimes is just like, it definitely sounds one way, and then they're like, no, we didn't say that. Like, okay. So I can understand that,
like
but
we've said it for how many times now? Boone is the king of gaslighting when it comes to
totally.
When it comes to his interviews. Like, he knows how to say one thing before a game and then be like, no, I definitely did not say or do that at all. I don't know where you're getting any of this information from.
Yeah, so hopefully Rizzo will be in the lineup on Friday against the Dodgers, but we'll see. Yeah. I hope
they
so.
They say he is, but again, they've said that twice now during Seattle. So
they say things. So speaking of other things they say, Bader gets injured. I guess that was the Gosh, I don't even remember they're so late. They're so
I thought it was
the
in the
late
second
night games. Was it the second game? I think you're right. Or no, because they were wearing the little. I think it was Monday night's game because they were wearing the Memorial Day patches.
You're right.
He had the little flower on his chest. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, Monday's game. Bader beats out an infield single, hustling down to down to first base. And honestly, he goes into the bag, and you don't even really notice anything. Maybe he pulls up slightly when he's decelerating. But then trainers kind of come out immediately, and he walks off the field, and Allen comes in and gets picked off at first. So that was fun. 30 seconds. But after the game, Boone poo-poos and says, we're not too worried. And by the way he walked off the field, I was thinking, okay, that's probably true. Not too worried about it. But he's also saying this in the same breath as I'm not too worried about Rizzo either. But then he's getting MRIs. He got an MRI the next day. They're waiting. I think that was the game where they didn't release the lineup until like
it was late.
It was like 30 minutes before the game or something. They waited.
Yeah, I don't
really
remember
long.
exactly when. I just remember having checked, and I never really saw it. Well, I had a meeting on Wednesday with my other job, so I didn't really see much of it. I just remember continually looking before the meeting, looking toward my phone, and being like, wow, they still haven't released anything for
the lineup
for the lineup.
Yeah. So Bader's injured, and basically the next day when they got the MRI and they figured out, oh, that's not going to work, they called up Franchi, so it might have been the Wednesday game. Honestly, just, like I said, being up until that late has definitely screwed up my memory with what game goes where. But they did call up Franchi or Franchi, however you say his name, for one game. And then Bader
they also called up Crook for one game. Didn't even do anything
with him. Bader. So the last thing we know about Bader is that he's out for a few weeks, quote unquote. Don't know the grade of the MRI. Nobody said anything about how bad the MRI was. They haven't said anything about it. So I feel like that's worse news.
Say a few weeks is not 3.
Yeah, so I think we just changed Bader for Stanton, so that kind of sucks, but which we can get into that next. But so that was a little bit of a big blow with, Rizzo's hopefully going to be back pretty soon, but Bader is a big blow since he was only back for about a month worth of games, and he was very, as we've talked about, very important for those games.
In those games,
between crazy defense and stuff. But
talking about an instrumental person, somebody who maybe we have not expected to be instrumental for us in games, is IKF. He's been hitting really well. I think his numbers are more closely like I do think that IKF, of the 3 players that have gotten hit, I mean, Hicks is gone. He's actually now with
the
Baltimore.
Orioles. Yeah.
But I think he's injured now. Something like that.
Oh, I saw that. He left with an injury. Like, can't make this stuff up. Like,
and he actually debuted for the Orioles. He had 2 hits and a walk.
I know.
2 singles and a walk, and then he got injured shortly after that, which, does stink. You get a new opportunity. You're trying to prove yourself, and then you get hurt while you're basically trying to replace a player who's hurt. So, like, if he's out for an extended period of time, he might be I don't know how it would work. He'd probably be DFA'd by the Orioles as well when Mullins gets back. But
certainly,
anyway,
sucks for Hicks. But
slight tangent there. Going back, Hicks and Donaldson were getting most of the hate, and I think we talked about it a while ago that Hicks, Donaldson, IKF, the 3 hated Yankees. But I think even back then we said, I really don't hate IKF all that much. You just hate the position and the role they gave him last year. And that we felt that him playing that third base outfield platoon role would actually work really well for him. And,
I mean,
it's been working
IKF,
well.
Yeah, we figured IKF coming off the bench would be good. He was always good contact hitter. We mentioned his and I don't have the stats in front of me, but his average with runners with
in
bases
scoring
loaded.
position have been
Yeah.
bases loaded are over 300
Yeah.
last year, and I think this year it's been pretty good as well, especially with runners in scoring position. He's been hitting with a little bit more pop.
Yeah. I mean,
in recent games, I think he hit 2 home runs in this past week,
yeah,
or
he's
1
hit.
home run, or maybe multiple
I think
doubles.
two. I think
2 home
two,
runs.
but yeah, I think
Yeah,
sorry.
he's been able to go into he's been playing a lot of the 5 hole in several of the games so far, and he's been doing well. I mean, I saw somebody make a joke with it, being like IKF is really the one who's going to be backing up Judge in this game, and he's done well. So
Yeah, he's done very well. In the last 7 games, IKF's average is 345. His on base is 345, and his slug is 552. So for a career 262 hitter batting average,
it's
that's
probably his career
amazing.
slug is probably around 4, right?
His career. Oh, I guess the site I'm on doesn't have his slug. It just has average on base and OPS. Weird. So, but yeah, I bet his career slug is probably around 400. If it's over 500, I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, I mean, his last 5 games, he's been great. 1 home run, or 7 games, excuse me. His 1 home run over the last 7 games. So I must be thinking about a couple of long doubles, because I remember, he's had
I
a
definitely
few
know
extra
he's
base
had
hits.
several extra base hits over this series, which with as much as crap as we have given him last year, again, I think a lot of that was because the organization was hell bent on making him the everyday shortstop. When we knew that someone like Peraza probably should have been in that role a lot sooner in the year than he was last year. This year, we obviously have Volpe up, which we'll talk about him in a little bit. But we talked at the beginning of the year. We believe if IKF plays platoon role of the outfield, third base, second base, like in that role, he would probably excel a little bit more. And you got to hand it to him, because Hicks, the reason the word that Boone has used when it came to Hicks, the reason they DFA'd him is because he could not accept his role. That's very different than IKF. Some people, the story is that IKF asked for the role to play in the outfield. There are some people who are skeptic on that and say that he was told he would have to play the outfield. Either way you look at it, he's accepted it.
He hasn't
Which
bitched
is
about it
more
at
than you.
all.
Yeah. You don't see him in the media saying, oh, woe is me. I think he had a really big game, and they were interviewing him after the game, and he's like, look, it's been tough. That my teammates know that it's been tough for me, but they've had my back. I love playing here. I love my role here. I'm going to do everything I can to help this team win.
I'm doing everything I can not to be DFA'd like Hicks just was.
Yeah. And you like that with a guy like him, somebody
absolutely.
who, with Bader getting injured, I'd rather have him in the outfield at this point than Calhoun.
Well, yeah, he can't cover anything.
Yeah, he can't really cover anything out there. I mean, I like Bowers, but I would say right now IKF has been more consistent. He doesn't have the power that Bowers has, but
you can get them both in there in certain when they have, and yeah, I trust IKF's defense more in
left field at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Bowers has made a few blunders. He's made some really great plays, but he's also made a few blunders, and IKF's pretty solid out there. I mean, he's not making Bader type plays at all, but Bader's a different class of outfielder, and IKF has certainly held his own out there, and
he's learning. This
IKF,
is a position he took over in spring training.
Yeah. And IKF even played a game at short the other day and did a decent job out there and still hit well. So it was like, good job. So yeah, I think, the success. He also mentioned that he was pretty I guess hesitant or just like wasn't open to changing certain things or trusting the process of changing certain things about his swing or things last year. And he's more open-minded and accepting those changes this year. So I
When
guess
you
that's
have
helped.
the statistics you had last year, you better be
Thinking, maybe I got room to
if
change.
I'm Judge and I just hit 62 home runs, hit over 300, and someone says, "Hey, we should tweak your swing a little bit," I'd be a little bit being like, I don't really want to do that.
Hey, fuck you. No.
Yeah.
No.
but when you only hit one home run,
hey, how about you mind your business?
Yeah.
How about you mind your business?
Yeah.
I don't think he hit a home run last year until the Boston series. It was a grand slam against Boston.
Oh,
in
IKF, you mean?
Yeah, in late July.
I think you're right. I think that one was called like the IKF game for a little while because it was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, finally hit a home run. So it's nice seeing IKF play well. Again with the Bader injury, we need people to be stepping up, and especially with the front office finally being willing to DFA some of these players who are not producing. IKF has been one of those guys who I think that even if he, right now he's a starter because of the injuries, but even when we get our full roster back, I think he's done enough to earn his everyday spot, especially with guys. I mean, Waldo, we can move into that. Waldo's been sent down. Stanton, Donaldson, and am I getting ahead of myself?
No, I was just gonna say, I was just gonna comment that IKF's even though he's hitting really well now, he does really well off the bench, and even when he was hitting more towards his career average in the first part of the season, he was still being productive in stealing bases and not being an idiot in the outfield. And so he's just. That was all I was gonna say. Just he's.
And I think there was a game where he was put out into second, he was pinch run in extra innings.
Yeah.
And his base running helped us get a win.
Yeah, especially at a time when everybody was injured and we really didn't have anybody fast on the team. It was kind of, besides Volpe, but him and Volpe was it. And
Volpe couldn't pinch run in the situation because he was in the lineup.
Yeah. So he's been useful in many different scenarios, and I think now that he's not having the pressure of being the shortstop of the New York Yankees and everybody being mad that he's the shortstop and not Correa.
Yeah, a lot less pressure. There's a lot less eyes on him,
Yeah.
It's
so it's allowed him to relax a bit, and he's doing really well. So I'm glad. It's good to see him happy. He's actually smiling out there.
Yes.
And I think he was a little bit surprised when the other day they I think the game that he had a home run, went 4 for 4. I think that was the game, right? I know that he went 4 for 4. They were a little surprised that they were asking for a on-field interview with him. He looked a little oh, me? You mean me? Because that wasn't happening last year, so it was good.
Happening at all last year.
But yeah.
Yeah. So and I guess where I was going with is that we getting Donaldson, Stanton, and Canely have come back. Obviously, Canely's bullpen, but Stanton, JD are back.
Yeah.
For how long for JD? We don't know. But even when we get Bader back, we get anybody else I'm missing on the. I mean, Rizzo will be back shortly.
Yeah, he's not on the IL, but no, I think as far as
position
players
lineup,
go,
But I would say even when they come back, I don't see where IKF would be on the chopping block of being DFA'd. Peraza has been killing it. Obviously, Waldo has not. I see JD getting DFA'd well before IKF at this point, just because of all that IKF can do.
Yeah, IKF can play almost every position. He can play. He can even be your position player, pitching.
And he's played. Has there been a position he hasn't played at this point, other than maybe first base?
First, I would have second. I don't think he's played second
This year, but he has played second.
Right. I'm sorry. Ever, yes, and ever. Then maybe first second might be it.
Yeah, first.
Yeah.
Because he's now played center. He's played right and left.
Mm-hmm. Yes, second, all the other infield positions. Yeah.
I don't think he's caught yet for the Yankees, but we know that he was a long-standing, not long-term catcher, but Texas had injury issues with their catcher, and so for multiple games, he was basically their backup catcher.
Yeah, I think he said something recently too, which was kind of a cool, just perspective from him that, I think they asked him just how do you like playing all these positions? And he was like, the more positions I can play, the more I can call myself a baseball player. And, if I can play every position on the field, that means I'm a baseball player. And so it's a good attitude. I like it. So as you were saying too, that we got other people back, and so which means we had to make room for people on the roster to bring back Stanton and Josh Donaldson and Canely. So
so Crook gets moved down without pitching at all.
That we didn't get to see him. So, which last time I think we saw him was spring training, right? He didn't do too well there, but would have been nice to see him throw.
I saw some people were upset about it. I would love to have seen him play, but also, who are we sending down? I'm not.
Him sending back. Yeah, him being sent down. No, yeah, that was the right decision. Just would have been cool to see, one of these games that we were winning by so much, throw him out there. Let's see, 3 batters maybe.
When did he get called up? Because if he got called up only for yesterday's game, then there was no chance that he was getting put into.
I don't think it was only yesterday. I thought he got called up after Ramirez. I think it was in the rash of we're depleted of our bullpen, so we need to get a fresh arm kind of cycle.
Right, those rotations.
Yeah.
Okay. Was he brought up after? He probably was brought up after Randy's start. So whatever day Randy's start was, he probably was the guy who got called up from there.
Probably. I'm looking.
But I don't remember when Randy started. But anyway,
either way,
Crook sent
he wasn't up for very long and
pitch.
Yeah.
And but the big name that was sent down, because we knew Franchi was going to be sent back down pretty much immediately. Guy just can't really hit, can't defend. He's not very good on a major league roster. I don't know why we really thought he was going to be good. I know he had a good week.
Yeah, I think people wanted him to be.
Everybody wanted to be Chapman.
Yeah, no.
Carpenter.
You keep doing that
every time. Carpenter. People wanted him to be Carpenter.
Yeah, people want and for 3 games or a week or something in the beginning of the year, he was exciting to watch. But
the difference between him and Carpenter is that Carpenter had really good seasons with the Cardinals.
Right.
Last year he was part of that Boston Red Sox defense that was just horribly laughable. Yes,
I remember when we got Franchi, and I sent you a tweet, and it was just this is the guy we just got, and it was the one they missed an infield pop up, and it's right behind his head, and you're oh my, or no, he had to dive for it. I forget, whatever.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was bad. It was
it was during that time for them that was just laughably terrible defense.
Yeah.
For the Red Sox.
Good times for good laughs for us. But
anyway,
So Franchi going down, not a surprise. He was brought up because he could go back down. I think he's got options, right? So, or no.
I think that might have been his last option.
Option. Yeah. So it was probably why it was brought up, so that they could just send him right back down. And then the other one, which was expected but still sad, was Waldo.
Oswaldo.
Yeah. Bless you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we had mentioned it a week or two
week.
ago when we knew that Stanton was on his way back. We had said, all right, so who are they going to move down, Waldo, Calhoun, or Bowers, knowing that they would have to DFA Calhoun or Bowers.
Yeah.
I think we had said unless Waldo turns it around
dramatically
with his bat, like dramatically, he doesn't do much more than the others do, other than being able to play multiple positions.
Right.
And
like,
IKF can do that for us.
Right.
Now.
It was like defensively, he definitely has a leg up over Bowers and Calhoun. Waldo does, but he just wasn't. He just wasn't hitting. And I think, like we said last week, I think it's good for him to go down to AAA. Clear his head, work on his swing, whatever it is, because he was doing really well last year.
September last year, yeah. I mean, he was hitting great.
So so he can.
We know that he has those abilities.
Absolutely,
just,
he's such a positive attitude and athletic player that he's going to find his way back. And I hope it's still with the Yankees and on our and to help our roster down the stretch, so he can come off the bench or whatever it is. I think his AAA stint will be good for him.
And especially we would want that switch hitting bat back in the lineup. That was probably the one thing that got Hicks to stay around for as long as he did, is that he is a switch hitter.
So that is a good point. We just lost 2 switch hitters now. Do we have any other switch hitters?
No,
I don't think so,
on
right?
The team currently. So, that is a value that he brings. So he just needs to learn how to hit again and find that rhythm, work on stuff. That's what AAA is for. You get that opportunity to work on things. 2 people who are speaking of working on things, one guy who is absolutely tearing it up in AAA versus one guy who in the major leagues is hot and cold is our star shortstops, Peraza and Volpe, being in the majors.
Right.
So I don't know which one we want to talk about first, but it's very 2 different different sides of the coin when it comes to production right now.
Yeah, I mean, Peraza, real quick, he's hit, what do we say, 7 home runs in the last 9 games. He's been absolutely ridiculous, and these home runs are not little bitty home runs. They're pretty...
Today he was, and situationally too, today he was down 0-2 in a count. He works back to a 2-2 count, and then he hit a 380-foot home run.
Yeah. He's he's done all he can do at AAA. This kid deserves to be up and on major league team. And for the Yankees right now, Josh Donaldson is his logjam or DJ. Yeah, thanks. Sorry. So those 2 being on the active roster are really his logjam. They're all in on Volpe, and we can talk about him next. And I really don't think they should. Torres should be extended, and we could have a whole pod about Gleyber Torres and the ups and downs he's had. But he's overall amazing and wants to be a Yankee and is a good Yankee, and he should be extended. So Peraza, if he's going to be on the Yankees, needs an opening at third base. And
he's been doing well. I think, didn't they move him to third base?
I think you're right.
AAA, in AAA, I think Trey Sweeney's playing short there.
Mm-hmm. I think that's right. So yeah, I mean, and and if he's not hitting a home run, he's being productive otherwise, and so yeah, he doesn't belong in AAA.
Often my MILB app goes off whenever AAA team is playing, and often it is Peraza
doing something great.
We've talked multiple times that Peraza either needs to be moved up or traded. At this point, he needs to be moved up and maybe look at possibly Waldo being traded, although I don't like that idea either. I didn't like the idea of Peraza being traded, but somewhere something needs to be moved. Obviously, you want JD to be...
Yeah, I was saying, in a dream world, I'm hoping, they've been kind of weird with JD. They're always, they're never going to show us their cards with the injuries. At one point, he's making his way back, and he scratches his thumb on a toy, and now he's not there, and all of a sudden he's coming back right now.
Yeah, and it comes 3-4 days, however long since our last podcast. I think it happened 6 days ago. I think it happened the day of our last podcast where he went to that dinner and was complaining that he was getting the Ellsbury treatment. So 6 days after that, he's now being moved up to the major league roster.
Very, very weird. So I don't know, if there's something going on there where they're trying to see, like, okay, Donaldson, you say you're good, then show us. And, that's my hope, I guess.
My hope is, I think Bobby Malone might have said it too, like on Yankees Twitter. They expect to give him 2 to 3 weeks.
And I hope that's right. I think
you had said it too.
I hope that's right. That they'll give him 2 to 3 weeks to show us what you've got. Show us the Josh Donaldson that was the MVP that can hit bombs, and otherwise we'll DFA you. I'm really hoping that's because Peraza Peraza needs to be traded, or Waldo there's a logjam, and we can't let them rot in AAA. We can't,
which is what they're doing right now, especially Peraza. And what I would say when it comes to JD, they shouldn't be afraid to DFA him, because if Peraza can hit at the major league level, I hope that Peraza is not another quadruple A player like Florial is.
Yeah, but he showed last year. Maybe it wasn't like as hot as it is in AAA, of course. But
he showed last year he's got some.
Yeah, hints
of that.
Yeah, he can make it in the major league level, I would think, and I think he deserves deserves a shot. It's just, how do you do that without the injuries in your way? Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think they should be. I mean, sometimes the front office makes smart decisions. Most of the time they don't. I think they should not be afraid to DFA JD, because this is his only year. You're already guaranteed to have to pay him $28 million. I've said it since preseason that if you're already having to pay him $28 million, why pay him $28 million to suck in the lineup rather than be off of the roster entirely?
Yeah.
You have to look at it. The front office has to look at it that way. Get 20 whatever. Maybe it's not 28 million, but 20 something million. That I think it's 23 that you have to give him. It's already given to him. It's guaranteed money unless you're able to trade him and convince the other team to pay out his remaining part of that contract, which nobody's going to willing to do. No. You're going to have to pay him that $23 million. So look at it from a Moneyball standpoint on numbers. You're paying the $23 million to be on that roster spot. Would you rather that roster spot being filled with JD's production, or would you rather that roster spot being filled with Peraza's production? And I'd rather, even though the money's not going to Peraza, I'd rather spend that money on the production of Peraza. And if that means DFAing JD to get him off of that roster spot because he can't be in AAA,
so be it.
So be it. Let him be another team's problem. Like we showed, Hicks has moved on. The Orioles have picked him up. He obviously got injured, and just for his case, because at one point we've talked about it before. Hicks when he hits home runs, he's an exciting player to see, hit those big home runs. I'd hope that he isn't successful with the Orioles at the expense of the Yankees, but you don't want to see him fail. So if he has to get off the Yankees to go and be who he was in Minnesota or before that, it's not working here. Get him off the team.
Yeah.
JD, I'm not as hoping that he finds success off the Yankees as I am somewhat happy to see Hicks find somebody to have some success with. But
yeah, I think it just stinks that Peraza is down there, and they need to do something. It can't turn into a Clint Frazier situation. This can't turn into an Andujar situation. And I'm not saying that I think Peraza is much better than both of them, but
right, which is even more so why we can't let him turn
Right.
into that.
Like we either need to make a place for him on the active roster consistently, or he needs to be traded for something that we need. There cannot be by July or, by August 1st, Peraza should not be in our AAA system, whether that's because he's on our major league roster or because he has been traded, then so be it. But like that's what needs to happen. He can't be.
And it better be for something good.
And honestly, before he was hitting all these home runs, that was, what was going on in my head, what we would talk about today. But like, he has made it absolutely obvious, and you can't help but talk about it because he's hitting home runs every other at bat. Like, so yeah, he is pushing it. He's kind of pushing their hand like Volpe pushed their hand in spring training.
Spring training, yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Speaking of Volpe, he's been hot and cold. We say hot and cold. His hot has been probably more like lukewarm, and his cold has been troublingly cold. Just to have those two flips of the coin, you have, he makes really terrible errors at short. Right at his feet, should catch it really easily. To makes unbelievable plays that save the game, or turn amazing double play that is beautiful. Strikes out on a terrible pitch, or hits a huge home run, or another productive double or something like that. And so unfortunately, his numbers don't look very good because of it. I do think this is a result of Volpe missing AAA. He went from 15 games,
played like 15
5
games at AAA.
In AAA to the major league level. He was, when Peraza was called up last year at the end of the year, Volpe was called up into AAA into his place. So he only played like half a month down there, and so, of course, there's going to be some growing pains. We're a month and a half in. I know that nobody on a World Series caliber team wants to hear just hold on, let the shortstop of the New York Yankees figure it out. But
what I would say too is that he holds value too, even when he's struggling. He's got the most stolen bases on the Yankees. I think he leads rookies, or at least AL rookies, in stolen bases.
He still has. I mean, at one point I know he led, but I know he's still in the top of the pack of stolen bases. He's had a hard time getting on base recently, which is probably why that's lower.
And I also feel like a lot of his batting average issues are a bit of unlucky placements. I was trying to find it, but I couldn't find it specifically to refer to it. But he's top 5 in among active qualifying shortstops in the league. 21 qualifying shortstops across the league. He is top 5 in hard hit percentage, and I believe hard hit percentage is over 90 miles per hour exit velo. He is top 5 in average exit velo, barrel percentage. He's top 5 in all of those. And for those who don't know what all that means, it's basically just a advanced statistic to see, how well they are hitting the ball, not just getting a hit, but they're having it doesn't actually calculate whether or not they got a hit. It really just calculates how hard the ball is being hit. Are they meeting it in the middle of the at bat? Typically, the more often you do that, the more often you get hits. But he's also ranks 21st among 21 qualifying shortstops in batting average. So there's obviously a disconnect between how hard he's hitting the ball versus how often that ball is actually finding open ground. Now, part of it too, not just saying it's all unlucky. Kid strikes out a ton. He also ranks 21st in strikeout percentage, which is interesting because I think he ranks 6th in walk percentage. So
he's got a good eye, and he does have. He's a power. I don't know if is he a power hitter. I would think that that's the category he would fall in if he would do this more consistently. If he would find that short porch more often, that would be really cool.
He would be more considered not the type. He'd be considered a power hitter, but not the type that Judge is. More the type that like a Mookie Betts is. Like he barrels the ball up. He hits line drop. Like he's one of those guys who when they talk about hitters like the Freddie Freeman types, they are going into the bullpen or the taking BP batting practice. They're taking batting practice, trying to hit line drives, and those that go out as home runs, they are mistakes. They're trying to hit line drives, and they hit one higher. Whereas like an Aaron Judge power hitter, or
he's trying to hit it into the scoreboard.
They're trying to hit it about 500 feet. So he's a power hitter, but not the type of power hitter that Judge is. So I don't know. Like I guess the difference between a power hitter versus a slugger. But he's got pop.
Yeah,
is the point.
And so I think. I mean, we are 2 months into the season. I know at some point you have to stop saying that, blah, blah, blah. But we are still only 2 months into the season. He's 2 months into his major league career. I don't know how many errors Derek Jeter had at this point, but I know that he always talks about his errors when he first started as a rookie. He had a lot of errors. I think his first season, he's over 20 errors. So... I hesitate to scream at Volpe about that. Like he's figuring it out. And yes, sometimes we're going to have bad days where his error costs us a game. You hope he figures that out before the dog days of August. You hope he figures that out. And I and maybe people's points are, we don't want to hope. We want to make sure he figures it out, and we want somebody there we can trust. I think overall you can trust Volpe at shortstop. There have been a couple of blunders, but overall his defense is sound. I also think he will figure out his hitting. He just needs to adjust and trust his stuff.
And this is also what I would like to point out about Volpe. I'm not going to call out each person's name on here. Just want to read some tweets from September of 2016. This was on September 5th, 2016. I said the Yankees rookie Aaron Judge was a strikeout machine. He's not ready to be a factor for big league for the big league club next year.
Not ready.
Aaron Judge is clearly not MLB ready. This was September 6th. September 12th. I'm going to need Judge to be sent back down. Aaron Judge to be sent back down. This was September 5th, and that's why Aaron Judge wasn't up sooner, and he should have either been sent back down or sat the bench. He is not ready. This
is 2016, you said?
This is 2016. I think the Yankees and their fans should realize by now that Aaron Judge is not quite ready to be a regular in the majors.
Well, what I find funny about all these comments, so obviously everybody knows the Aaron Judge story. So his rookie season, he's not Aaron Judge. Shocking. Like, Mike Trout in his rookie season isn't Mike Trout. And nobody's saying that Volpe is destined to be these people, but he is the number one prospect in baseball. This kid is good. Give him time. I just where is he going to learn
just
this
to
better?
Clarify, he's number 3, I think.
Whatever.
Gunnar Henderson, I believe.
He was number one in the Yankees prospect system, and that's all that matters.
MLB prospect. So no matter what,
you're right.
He has the potential to be really great.
Yes. So. Point. Yes, thank you for.
I just want to make sure no Orioles fans jump on here and be like, "I'm sorry, excuse me."
You're right. Got to be right. Got to be correct. But he to me, I would rather him figure it out on the major league level than send him back down to AAA.
It's not like a Waldo situation where he's not adding pretty much anything other than defense. He does add a lot to steals. He's had a walk-off recently. He had a major home run in the Tuesday game. So it's not like he's being unproductive. He's got to figure out the strikeout issue. And I think once he figures out the strikeout issue and gets a little bit more comfortable at the major league level, at the major league velocity on the infield, like the balls hit onto the ground at that speed. Once he gets used to that, he's going to be fine.
Yeah, let's just have Stanton start hitting ground balls at him. That'll help. One last thing just is that if the Yankees roster was not built around Anthony Volpe,
right?
We don't, not that we don't need Anthony Volpe, but if we are relying on Volpe to win games, that if we're living and dying on his production, something's wrong. He's not Aaron Judge. We do live and die on Aaron Judge's production. When Aaron Judge is hot and doing well, everybody's doing hot and doing well. So,
there's a reason why when he was brought up, when we had a mostly healthy position player roster, with the exception of Bader to start the season, there's a reason why he was batting 9th in the lineup. And that is because that's where he should be until he figures out what he's doing.
Right. And it gives him the opportunity to flip when he is on and he is doing well, to flip the lineup over and start fresh. If he gets on base, then we've got Torres right after him, or JD, or not JD. DJ.
Dear God, please do not have JD.
They won't. They're gonna hitter. They are not. He's gonna bat He's gonna bat 5th.
He's gonna bat 5th every game. I think
right behind Stanton. Yep. And get ready to be angry for where. They might keep. Oh my God, Torres as leadoff.
I think they'll keep Torres as leadoff. Yeah,
I'll be interested to see where they put. I guess if JD. How often do you think JD and DJ will be in the same lineup?
I don't know. I mean, I honestly think right now DJ needs not to play every single day until he finds.
That's probably what's going to happen.
So they're probably going to swap. I don't think it's going to be
They'll probably do. JD is going to be at 3rd, and then we're going to have Rizzo Friday, DJ on Saturday, maybe Rizzo on Sunday. Like we're gonna put him at 1st for a little while Donaldson gets.
Yeah,
back into third base. Yeah, that's
and I think they're going to go to the original plan when it comes to DJ, is that DJ gives Donaldson, Torres, Rizzo days off.
Right. Yeah, him being at 3rd was not the plan. It's just the backup plan when JD gets hurt.
Yeah, and maybe that's affecting him. He's not, he at his old age of 35, he cannot withstand, playing. I mean, and some players, when they are in the major league, you do have guys who can play into their late 30s, early 40s at times. But there are some guys who just begin to crumble. I mean, look at Mark Teixeira. The guy basically lost his eyesight in the middle of his Yankee contract and had to retire.
It was awful. Plus the shift, it was just bad. Yeah, and the left side of the infield is not for the faint of heart. I mean, that's you get beat up on that side. So, our producer is telling us you've talked about the Yankees way too much, and you need to move on. So
I'm only providing you the guidelines that you told me to provide you.
He said it very nicely.
We might be dramaticizing that a little bit.
Yes. So we are going to move on to the rest of the league stuff. We might try to do this a bit quickly, but Ryan's power rankings, where's our sting, producer?
Ryan's MLB power rankings.
All right, so power rankings. I guess I'll start off with got very close to changing our number 1, but we'll get to that shortly. The first 3 teams do not change at all. The Los Angeles Angels are number 10. They've got to 30 wins. I believe they're third in their division. But they are one of the wild card teams at the moment. We've talked on multiple occasions about how the Angels tend to do well in the beginning of the season. They start to fall off, but Ohtani's been doing really well. I think they've had a pretty decent week as far as record-wise. So they stay in the top 10. The Mets are kind of climbing that way back up. They almost made my top 10 again. They're now 11th. But they moved up 3 spots from last week into number 11. I mean, they've been playing really well. Obviously, Alonso, I think he's leading the league in home runs. Is he over 20 now? Or I know last I checked he was 20.
Last I checked, he was 20. If he hit one today, then
he has the most home runs in the league and the most cringy moments in the league as well. So great season for Alonso there. But the Mets are, in all seriousness, the Mets are starting to find it again. I think Scherzer and Verlander are back. Maybe not Verlander, so don't quote me on that. But I know that
I don't know.
I know that Senga has been doing really good. Their rookie catcher, Alvarez, has been playing very well. I think Alvarez hit that walk-off home run, as he hit the walk-off or the game-tying home run against the Rays. That was the one where Pete Alonso was doing something pretty
inappropriate
awkward,
to the rail of the dugout.
Yeah. So they came close, but they're just not beating my top 10 yet. So I kept the Angels in. Milwaukee stays at number 9. They lead the Central in the NL. And then the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks have actually had a really, really hot week. They've won, I think, 4 in a row.
I guess I'm a little surprised they're not as high up or higher on your list. But
the only reason why is that when we get to these next teams, who do we put? Like when I look at them, who do I put above them?
Yeah,
the Braves, because the Braves are now number 7. The Braves lost a series to the Athletics.
Very bad. Braves. What are you doing?
I could have put the Braves below the Diamondbacks, but I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't ready to be
technically. I know. So these are probably your power rankings as of Wednesday.
Today.
This morning. Oh, as of today, this morning and June 1st.
Yeah.
I think I saw right before we hopped on here that the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks are now tied for best record in the NL.
So that would have happened today.
Today, okay.
Yeah.
So this evening.
Because that would have means that the Dodgers lost that means the Dodgers haven't played yet and the Diamondbacks won again. So the Diamondbacks have won 5 straight. If I had made this currently with that, that probably would have been enough for me to bump the Arizona Diamondbacks up another spot. But that's the top 8 teams, essentially, there's a gap, basically 8 teams and then a gap for 9 and 10. And even in record, there's a pretty good gap. I mean, you have 33 wins versus the rest are at 29, maybe 30 and below. There are a lot of teams that are in that 30 and 27 to 28 and 27 range. I mean, from what I can see, from 9th to 16th, all those teams have a record of either 30 and 27, 29 and 27, 29 or 26, or 28 and 27. I mean, those are all a half a game to a game apart. So those games are very difficult to. I know I don't go through all those week by week. I do have it on my spreadsheet of where I have them at, but those teams were not easy to order.
Sure.
But yeah, 1 through 8 are a different. Like they are a bit separated from below. If somebody else says that they believe the Diamondbacks should be 7 or 6, I would not be arguing with you right now. Just the way I looked at it. The Braves, like I just said, they drop a couple spots again. They lost a series to the Athletics. I mean, that's bad.
Not good. Yeah,
that's bad.
Good,
a team that, and we'll get into them in a second. A team that is historically awful. They lost a series to them, so not good for the Braves. I believe they dealt with I don't remember who, but I believe they dealt with an injury of some sort this week, but not a major one. It's not like an injury to Acuna Jr. or someone like that. Pitching just for them has not been as good. They've not been consistent with their bullpen. So I mean, when you're not doing those things, you're gonna get beat. Houston stays at 6. They're still being a very consistently good team. I imagine that at some point soon, they could be moving back up into the top 5. But a team that has moved into the top 5, maybe a little bit of bias, but they have certainly had a very good week, going, as we mentioned before, 4-2 over this course. I think they're 7-3 over the last 10 games. Maybe they're now 6-4 with that last loss, but either way, I think in the last 20 games, they've been one of the hotter teams in Major League Baseball. So the Yankees have moved up to number 5, slowly climbing back up the charts after having dropped so much at the end of April. So hopefully June is more like May than it was like April.
Yeah, and they are 6 games out of first, which they were 10, I think, or more at one point, and
Right.
they're 2 games behind Baltimore because they've lost some recently.
The Orioles have lost some. So before I get to them, the Dodgers, we just mentioned the Dodgers were leading the NL this morning, but they're now tied with the NL lead. They have not been as good of late, but they haven't been terrible, so they just kind of stay in the 4 spot right now because they are leading the NL.
They can be not good as the Yankees come into town too. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Yeah, big series, Yankees Dodgers coming up. That really could change a lot of how this looks in the coming weeks, or next week when we do our next podcast with the power rankings. So yeah, big 4 versus 5 in my power rankings face each other this week. So big matchup there. The Orioles do slip to number 3. They had a tough week. They already had. They won the series. Did they win the series against? They won these series against the Yankees, didn't they?
Yes, against the Yankees they did, and then they got beat up a little bit by the Rangers. So
right, yeah, and so the Rangers, if this series happened, if we did this podcast yesterday, the Rangers would be my number 1 team. But I don't know, Tampa being the first team to 40 wins in the season allowed me to say one more week with them up. The thing with the Rays, though, is that they have been the definition of mediocre in the last 10, 20 games. I think that they are 11-9 in their last 10 games. This is of this morning, 11-9 in their last 10 games. In the last 20 games, I think they are – in the last 30 games, I think they are 16-14. So not great when it comes down to how well they started. That's barely above 500. But we talked about they could be a 500 team for all the season and be pretty close to 90 wins. So,
yeah.
They're not in desperation mode yet. We've mentioned many of times that you're not going to continue the run that they were doing earlier. But what the Rangers have been doing, they've been putting together hitting with their young team, and pitching-wise, they've been absolutely stellar. So I would not be surprised if the Texas Rangers continue the run that they've been going on, that they could be number 1 soon. My hope is, Baltimore is a fun team to have watched. Mullins being injured is obviously going to hurt them. They signed Hicks, as we mentioned before, and now he's injured. So, their outfield status is kind of up in the air for the next 10 days, depending on what happens to Hicks. Even if Hicks stays around, who knows if he's going to be, actually productive. Was today yesterday a fluke of the 2 for 2 and a walk?
Yeah, the overwhelming theory was, once Mullins was back, he was just going to be DFA'd again. But, who knows? Yeah. Baseball's baseball. You never know.
Yeah. So, anyway, as much as they are a fun team to watch because they are in our division, and I'm sick and tired of us being a top 5 team in the league and being 3rd in our division, I am hoping that they continue to slip. Hopefully, like we said, the Yankees fare well against the Dodgers. So we'll see how this next week plays out. But I do think that there is plenty of potential for a lot of these to move around. Kind of going into what we were talking about with the Athletics, let's go into our bottom 5. The Nationals stay at 26. They lost the series against Padres. I'm not exactly sure what they did this week, but nothing of significance. They are still one of the bottom teams in the league. The Chicago White Sox are 27th. They have the third worst record in the league. They started to seem like they were putting it back together last week, but this week, I think they only added one. Like they only had one win over the week, maybe 2. So again, they are just not doing well. I know that Benintendi was a big piece that we fans were upset about that we didn't sign. I wasn't as upset that we didn't sign him. I like Benintendi. I was excited about the trade, but for as much as the White Sox were giving him, I don't know. It's proven that he has not been productive. It's not all of his fault why they're in the position they're in. Dylan Cease has been terrible. I think in my pre-rankings, I said that they were going to have one of the best. They were going to have one of the best pitching staffs.
Yeah,
the White
he's
Sox
on like
in that division.
bottom. He's in like bottom or like
both
the
him
worst
and Lance
ERA.
Lynn.
Yeah,
bottom 15. Cease is down there with an over 4.8 ERA. And Lance Lynn, I think, has the second worst.
Yeah,
like over 6. So, 2 guys, all in that position, not good at all. I will want to say, though, some exciting news for the Chicago White Sox, though it has not helped them win some games. Liam Hendricks has returned to baseball. Amazing story from him. He had what kind of cancer? He had a cancer, but
Hodgkin's lymphoma, right? I think.
Yeah.
So he went through his treatments and he's back. I mean, it's incredible.
Cancer-free.
Like, cancer free, and he's back
brother
pitching.
Said
with
something to the effect of like, cancer messed with the wrong motherfucker or something like that.
I mean, I wouldn't want to mess with Hendricks. So cancer
definitely
did, and
it's
an
inspirational
great
story. So despite their struggles this season, it must be a good moment for them. Yeah. Hey, if he can beat this, we can beat some
our terrible start to the season.
and guess what? They don't need to do much winning to get. You know what's crazy about them? They are 6 games back in their division.
7 today, but yes.
7 today. This morning, they were 6 games back in their division. It's the same distance as the Yankees, and the Yankees are the 5th best team in the league.
Yeah. If you're going to be in any division to try to climb back from a bad start, I guess the AL Central is probably a good one to do it in.
To be at. Yeah, because so what, Minnesota won a game today, or did Minnesota won and Chicago lost today?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is correct.
So yeah, I mean, that's not good in moving into the right direction, but yeah, I mean, Minnesota's not the best of teams. I mean, Detroit has a losing record. Did they win or lose today?
They won today.
So they're 27-28, and they are in second.
And they play the White Sox next, so there could be some shakeup in the AL Central.
I'm hoping for our dad's sake that they take 2 games.
Yeah,
there.
Hopefully they
get back into a 500 record.
500, yeah.
But moving on, Colorado Rockies continuing not to do anything good. That Chris Bryant contract that they signed to has just not
turned
worked
out to be really
well.
bad.
Yeah. I kind of just felt like it was weird when he went to the Rockies for that much money, even at the time, because when he got traded from the Cubs over to the Giants, I didn't really at the time notice when he was still with the Cubs that he was Bryant got traded about the same time that Rizzo did.
Yeah.
And it didn't really seem like any of the 3, including Baez, who Baez got traded to Detroit. Oh, no, he got traded to the Mets first and then signed with Detroit. But none of them I really felt were like lacking production. It was just like, hey, the Cubs suck, and we
Yeah, it
need
was
to
one of their. It was a
offload.
fire sale. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think all three of them.
Oh, the trade deadlines.
Yeah, it was the trade deadline, but Baez and Bryant were last year their contract, and Rizzo only had a year and a half left on that Cubs contract. So get them out, trade deadline, get them out. So those three guys got traded at the same time. At the time, I really didn't think Bryant was terrible, just kind of having a somewhat off year, and then he got traded to the Giants, and he looked terrible with the Giants. He couldn't play third base that well. I think at the time they also had struggling Evan Longoria there. So they sent him out into the outfield. He still didn't look like his old self. And then the Rockies still signed him to such a big deal. And that was the time where the Rockies got rid of Trevor Story.
Yeah, it just seemed like such an odd signing. Yeah, and
they refused to trade Trevor Story.
Right.
And then they don't sign him to a new contract, even though I think he wanted to stay there. I mean, let's be honest, Trevor Story was a monster at Coors Field. Has not been so much for the Red Sox. But anyway, I don't need to go down a long rabbit hole just saying that the Rockies are where they are because the Rockies have made some terrible decisions.
Yeah, we want to bitch about the Yankees front office. I mean, there's some front offices that you just...
Yeah, and we're going to get to the next two that are really bad.
Yeah, so not that they should be in anywhere close to them, but there are some really bad front offices.
The Royals are still in 29th. They've had a not actually awful week, but they're like 7 games from the Rockies. Is they still 7 games from the Rockies? It shows here that they're about 6.5 games from the Rockies.
They are. Wow.
So, actually, no. The next worst team, I guess, would be Chicago. So they are like 4 games off of Chicago, but still, that's a pretty big gap there. So there's no moving for them until they go on a bit of a longer streak, and then nobody is as bad as Oakland, even with them beating the Braves. They still have the worst last 10 game stretch of anybody. Prior to the Braves series, they had lost 11 straight games. They got to 10 wins.
Wow.
And they lost 11 straight games. So the Athletics are on, I think the last I had checked, they were on pace to only win 29 games. That's probably moved up to like 30 something now. But again, until they get to a point where they're on track for 45 wins, they are on pace to be the worst team ever fielded in Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
and it's coming from a team who not too long ago had a 90-win team because they had a really strong farm system that made it to major leagues and played really well. I mean, they had Matt Olson, they had Matt Chapman. I cannot get those names correct for my life. They had Montas, Manea, several really good.
Talk about
pitching.
A fire sale. Yeah, they really did just.
They fire sold everybody that they could. They had Sean Murphy, one of the best catchers, not the best catcher in the league.
You got Murphy and Olsen on the Braves, and like
him and JT Murphy and JT Realmuto are like 1A, 2 or 1A, 1B as far as catchers go in the league. So, they had a really good team that they had put together, and they just got rid of it all. They didn't add anything. I mean, I think someone had said...
they're all on purpose. I mean...
it's all on purpose. They want to get to Vegas.
Yeah.
And I think plans are already moving forward with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Their stadium in Vegas is also going to be the second lowest in attendance. Like, max attendance will be second lowest. I don't know who's the first, because it was pretty low. It was like 30,000 was the max capacity, I think. Another just quick little stat to show you how terrible the A's are. Not that we need to harp on that every week. It's them being as awful is just bad. Not okay. Yeah. Their run differential is -195, and the next the next person right above them is the Kansas City Royals, who's negative 70. Like,
Yeah.
they
It's
have
over 100.
allowed over 120 more runs than the next worst team.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
they get blown out in pretty much every game.
yeah.
There was a thing that came up on TikTok recently on my feed, and it was just a guy who was making a fun little joke, but it was like, I think the Astros hit 7 home runs in a game against the Athletics, and the guy was like, the Astros tonight, and they're kind of making fun of the trash can thing where someone was banging on the trash can as they're hitting home runs.
Yeah.
No one was actually doing that, but that was their little skit. And I commented this as well as many others commented this, and they said, no, the real cheat code was the fact that they were playing the Athletics.
Yeah, I mean,
every
like
team
we
is
said when we
beating up
played
on
them. Yeah, like we said when we played them, anything but a sweep of the Athletics and words are hard, but like beating them by a lot. There was no excuse for not doing that because they're just that
Braves.
bad right now. And yeah, Braves. I mean, really, like the Braves are supposed to be really good, and somehow they go into that and drop a series, let alone lose a game to the A's. They drop a series to the A's like that.
I think
that must have hurt.
At least one walk-off in extra innings they had.
I think you're right. I
they
forget,
had a
but
loss.
I think you're right. It's
so anyway.
So.
Yeah. So those are my power rankings for the week.
Yeah, I think another thing, when you were talking about your top 10, I was looking at what was going on with the Braves, and the Braves are going to play the Diamondbacks, so you might have a little shift there.
Yeah.
As well.
Real quick, I know we're probably going to move to you have a Yankee for me, but while
I do.
While we do that, I did want to go back. While you're sending me that, I want to put something out there just because we talked about injuries. I wanted to go real quick to go over the dates that some of the players are expected back. Anthony Rizzo expected back tomorrow. Again, we'll see if that's true, but he is expected back tomorrow. Bader and Ian Hamilton are expected back on the 16th.
Where are you basing that off of? I saw you wrote that.
This is based off of CBS Sports' earliest possible return. Now, the way they specify it, that does not mean when they come off the IL. It means when they are expected to not only come off the IL, but based on their injury, when is the earliest we could see them return.
And what was the date again for Bader?
Bader and Ian Hamilton are June 16th. So that's a little over 2 weeks away. So it would be 3 weeks away from when the injury happened for Bader. About a month from when Ian Hamilton got hurt.
Okay, I think if that happens, why I know we're really lucky.
Yeah, and that's why I know it's not off the IL, because I'm pretty sure Ian Hamilton would technically be off the IL here shortly.
Right, like eligible.
Eligible. Yeah. So that's why I know these are not when they come off the IL, but when they are expected, when the earliest expectation where you could see them. So June 16th, Bader and Hamilton. June 24th, Carlos Rodon. Now, of course, again, with that's going to depend on if he's going to get into any rehab games in the next week or two. He's going to need to do that within the next week or two in order to reach that 24th.
Well, I mean, he is making his way there. I know we didn't really talk about him before. There's not too big of an update, but I know he pitched off the bullpen, in Seattle? Or was it when we played the Padres? He had a recent bullpen.
I think it was in the Padres because he was in New York at the time. But he did travel with the team to Seattle. And
he will be traveling with them, or did travel with them to L.A. With the Dodgers, and I guess he's going to be doing another bullpen session in L.A. So fingers crossed, hopefully things continue to progress normally and he doesn't feel any more pain and he can do a rehab start here soon.
Now, these next two are a little bit more iffy on the dates just because they're so far in advance and there's a lot of things that will need to happen correctly in order for these returns to happen. But Jonathan Loaisiga is August 1st, so the day after deadline day. And then September 1st for Frankie Montas. If you have forgotten who that is, it's the guy we traded for last year.
Huge signing.
Yeah.
Or trade, yeah.
But he's got big news recently.
Yeah, I was going to say. He started a throwing program on Tuesday. Yay!
Yeah, so, hopefully, I mean, he was good in Oakland. The whole reason we got him is because he's also really good against Houston. So if he gets healthy and he can pitch well in September, great. But
let's hope the surgery worked and he's good and can be an Astros killer for us, because that's why you're with us.
Yeah. I mean, other injuries are ones that are, I think, out for the season, like Lou Trevino, and Efros are done for the year. I think Heel would also have the chance to return in July, but I don't think he returns to the Yankees.
You think he's going to get traded?
I think he stays at AAA.
Oh, okay. Possibly, yeah.
I mean, we botched him.
Yeah.
He was another guy that we should have traded in 2020 that we decided not to. But all right.
Probably.
Well, looks like you sent me the stats for the Who's the Yankee, but I did want to go over those just for some optimism of when we can expect some of these guys back.
No, yeah, some good news sprinkled in there, so that's good.
All right. So we got
Who's that Yankee?
Oh, this is Nick Swisher.
Oh, it was too easy.
So I went to 2000. Sorry. I promise I just looked at this. I saw he came on to us in 2000. I should have read through it more. He was with Oakland. Saw that he went to Chicago White Sox in 2008. But 2009 was when it kind of it was like, I think this is Nick Swisher. And then I saw he hit 29 home runs in 2009. He stayed with us until 2012, went to Cleveland. I was like, oh, this is
Nick Swisher.
This is Nick Swisher. I'm sorry, Nick Swisher is like one of my favorite
I know he's one of your
from that time.
favorites, so that's why I was like, okay, this is firmly in Ryan's Yankee start. And I also was going to tell you, if you couldn't get it right away and wanted a hint, that he was the Tommy Kahnle of the 2009.
Yes.
Yeah, or of the Yankees in general. He's crazy. His
crazy guy.
Yeah.
So sorry that I got that.
Just, no, that's great that you got it right away. Good job.
Cliff seemed to be upset that I got it right away.
Too easy.
Too easy. I'm sorry. All right. I just needed to find the balance.
You know what? I
there,
needed a win after that missing Phil Hughes so easily. So
yeah,
we're both 1-1 to start.
Yeah. The next time I'll do, like Derek Jeter. No. There are several that you go back and you're like, well, no, I can't do them. That's too easy. I mean, especially with like the dynasty Yankees, there are just too many that are too easy. Yeah. Especially the ones that are the core four and, have only been with the Yankees. Should put them all
I
up
definitely
and
like
see if
the
you can
idea
out which one's which.
I definitely like doing the idea of these type of players. The ones who are not career Yankees, the ones who had a couple of seasons, who had some type of
stamp on Yankees.
Yeah,
a Yankee team, at least at least for one season,
not like
or maybe
saying
more.
Hey, here's a stat sheet of Mike Ford.
Yeah. Guess who that is?
Yeah. I suggested that she do Euclid, but she never does it.
That's not happening. We pretend that didn't happen.
It would be one season with the Yankees, and I'd probably get it just on the fact that he was with Boston for so long.
Yeah. That's true.
But anyway, Nick Swisher is one of
he's still with the he's still with the organization too. I mean, he definitely had an impact.
Advisor.
He was probably one of the biggest, not one of the biggest, but without Nick Swisher, you probably don't win the 2009 World Series. I mean,
oh no, he was vital.
He was vital, and his attitude plus his production, it was just, he was very important to that team, and he's still with the organization
All-Star in
now.
2010, not 2009, but I mean, he did a lot of really great things for the team. I mean, he hit, he was, I think, our 7-hole hitter. And I wish we had a 7-hole hitter now as we had with Swisher.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if Bader was healthy and everyone else coming back, that'd be Bader.
Yeah.
But yeah.
A little less pop and a little more speed, but yeah, that would be
right.
Bader.
Right. Exactly. They're not the same player. Just that I would imagine that's where Bader would go.
Bader would be a good 7 hole.
But yeah, that he there's pieces with that 2019 that you can't do without, and he would be one of them. And probably the 2010 season was good for him too, but I bet that was a partial you were good last year. Let's make sure you're an all-star this year. But yeah, good job.
Kitty wanted to jump up there.
Oh, appearance by Pumpkin. Very good. Getting that right away. Hopefully I can do the same next week.
All right.
Not. I'm terrible at looking at numbers and guessing people that match them. So we'll see how it goes. All right. That's all we got for you this week. The Yankees are going into playing, like we said, the Dodgers for a 3-game set with a bunch of people coming back. So everybody's excited. And I don't even remember who they go to after that.
And then we play the White Sox after that.
The White Sox.
The White Sox. So that'll be
good.
Hopefully good for us.
Yeah. Lots of off days in June, so hopefully these injuries can fix themselves and people can come back without missing too many games. I don't know. But
yeah.
Every Monday in June is off, so.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all we got. So Ryan will tell you where you can follow us and stuff.
Yes. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Damn Yanks _pod. On Facebook at Damn Yanks Pod. Follow us and listen to us. I don't know if you're listening to us on Spotify or YouTube. If you're coming to us from Twitter, that's where you can get the full podcast. Each and every week, sometimes twice a week that we do this. So hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications. Get so that way when we're uploading these, and thank you for listening for those who have for the hour and 30 minutes that we've probably been talking.
This one was long. Sorry, guys.
It's 2 series, so
a lot happened too. Transactions, and there's a lot of movement.
So anyway, I do appreciate everybody who does listen. I know a lot of times it is family and some close friends. So thank you guys as always for listening. Giving us feedback and what you guys want to see every week. If you are not within our family and close friends, thank you as well for listening to some strangers just talk about baseball for an hour and a half.
Tell your friends, make them watch.
Yeah, make them watch for us for an hour and a half. Make them listen.
All right.
All right.
Well, until next time.
See ya.
See ya.